All right, so we're starting off on the finalizing of this before we can put it in the other car. I am still debating whether or not I want to cut this toe board section off or whether I want to leave it in position. This definitely has to cut out, so I'm going to go through all of that today and cut this off. By the end of the episode, I will know whether I want to remove that section to work on it separately, making it a little easier to go in and actually set this as two separate pieces rather than one big piece. Because I think setting it as one big piece, that's going to be a problem. Plus, I kind of got to fix my stuff. But that's going to be after the break, so stick around.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, last week we were dealing with the removal of this entire floor pan section from the car. This week we are kind of looking at how we want to put it back into the other Galaxie. In my opinion, at this point, it may be easier for us to separate these two pieces, especially since I have to effect several repairs on this section here, but that means I'm going to have to cut out a bunch of spot welds. And if I'm cutting spot welds out, I want a good spot weld cutter. Now, you can get spot weld cutters at Harbor Freight here in the States, but this one is one that I got online through Amazon. It's actually a really nice spot weld cutter. This one is one that I have used quite a bit, and it works really, really well. And this is the one I'm going to be using today. Now, what I'm going to do when I have this, I'm going to set it up with a drill bit that is relatively the same size as the center pin so that I can get the depth I need in order to make an effective cut on these spot welds. This one worked really well when we were taking the pan out, so we're going to see how it works on this. But the first thing I got to do is I got to find where the spot welds are and all this trash on the underside of this panel, both here and up here on the toe board. So I'm going to have to cut this off. I'll probably do that with my cutoff wheel here in a second. But initially I want to show you guys just going through and taking and cutting the dirt off of this using a standard drill motor and a wire wheel, and then this type of wire wheel as well. All right, I'm going to get my face shield out for this, because this is going to throw debris everywhere. Ooh. It's been sitting long enough that there are webs inside of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this end down here and just start looking for spot welds. And I don't know if I'm going to find any on this side. This panel may be too thick for the spot weld to show, and if I can't find them on this side, it's going to get exponentially harder to come in from the other side. It looks like our job just got a lot harder. I'm going to probably have to flip this pan over and work this from the back side, because this is just not showing me any spots at all. Probably because this brace here is so thick. Yep. Let's flip it over and see if we can find something on this side. Oh, this is going to be so fun. These back here are a little easier to find. Anytime you've got a field of rust pockmarking like we've got going on here, you're going to have a lot of problems trying to find spot points in the metal. It may even be a case where I have to get something a little more aggressive, like a sanding disc or a cutoff wheel, and come through here and work this to find the spot points. They're going to have to be between right here and probably about right there. I'm a little worried about this pan in general in some respects. All right, now what I've done is I'm going to try to find my line here. I don't know, I may just cut this a little out beyond where I think most of the spots are, like to right here, because I've got enough panel on the original car that I can work to the other side of these holes here and still have enough panel on there to be able to hide it underneath this lip of the seat bracing here. So I'm going to draw a line in. This is where I'm pretty sure that my seat brace is. Not my best work at this point. Right here. So that's a line right there that my seat brace is in. ish. And I'm basing that off of being able to run that to there. Another thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to go on the back side of this and drill a series of holes, making sure that I'm on the other side of that. And I'm going to drill them in the brace. I'll show you that here in just a second. Because I am not trying to retain the brace. I just want to make sure I've got enough material here to get what I need. I see a spot here. So if I can cut out to about right here on this pan, I should be good to go. I'm going to flip it over. Let's see what we got. How close we are to my marks. And we're kind of off. See, it's a good thing I did that. It's always difficult to take a tape measure or something and run it out across a line here. Because what happens a lot of times is the tape measure will actually sometimes go out into a corner when you're trying to bow it in for whatever reason. But now we know that we can cut along this line right here and we should be pretty safe. But I'm going to have to do that with a cutoff wheel because, well, I just need to use a cutoff wheel. I feel the need. Okay, now this is a piece of sheet metal that we had left over from the floor pan video we did on the Camaro. We got a full half a floor pan, didn't need it. I thought we would. And this has been sitting around. Never, ever throw away old sheet metal if you're working on more than one old car. If this wasn't available, I would probably go in and use a piece of sheet steel, like a standard piece of sheet steel of a rough thickness to match the floor pans on this, and just beat that corner into place and make it the way it needs to look to get into this spot here that's this corner that's all chewed up. As it is right now, this is probably a little steeper than it needs to be, but it is complete all the way over to here, which is more than enough for me to do what I need to do to repair that whole corner, which is pretty trashed. So I guess the next thing to do is to go in and actually cut this out as much as I need to, probably to about right here. I'll have to work on flattening this section out a little bit, but that's what's got to be done because there's no other way to do this other than just bending and beating sheet metal. So what I'm going to try to do is mark this up backwards and upside down. Like always, I'm going to cut it as big as I can. Might even go back a little further on that top section. I'll probably have to make this a little hard for you guys to see it, for me to be able to see it, because let's face it, I'm the one that's cutting it, so. I think I got enough room everywhere. Yeah, I'm still going to have to work this piece of sheet steel here. The angle's actually right for this end. It's out a little bit. I can push it in some at the top corner. But that's almost a separate video in and of itself, how to put this stuff together. Because I need to come all the way up into there to cover that hole. I'm going to take and knock the edges off of this here in a second, but I just wanted to look at this, and I was going to say that in order for this to really move the way I need it to do, I'm probably going to need to actively work that line right there over a little bit. You always want to work a little further over this way because this is not all the way into that corner. I'm going to probably need to go in along this line here and beat that into a more rounded corner. Sometimes I look at this and I think maybe it would have been worth the money to just go in and buy both panels, but I wanted to try this. I wanted to see if this would work out. So far, I'm at about a C+ on whether this is a good idea or not. All right, well, I'm going to pull this piece out of the way and I'm going to start working on this a little bit. See what we get. I think today probably all we're going to try to work toward is getting this where it will go into that corner. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the panel over and I'm going to work this from the back side. I've marked up the back side of it as well. Oh, how I hate some of these sheet metal screws. You notice I've marked up the original panel a little bit as well to give me some kind of a guide room in case this thing slips around, which it seems to be doing quite a lot of at the moment. I'm going to drill out the hole and then put the screw in. All right, now that should keep me fairly stable while I work the panel with my hammer. What I want to try to do is to work this metal into this corner. Biggest problem I have right now is this back edge back here. This is really a much gentler curve on this piece of metal than it is on this piece of metal. And I really don't have a good way to fix that other than just hammering on it. I'm going to have to take that screw out because I think I've set this pretty much as good as I can get it. We'll have to MIG that hole up. This end right here is out some more. Sit here on the table. One thing I will say about the newer metals is they're a lot more malleable to this kind of work than the old sheet steel. Probably what I'm going to do when I do the final on this is I will go in and start on this edge here, move to here and around here, and this I will leave out in the wind until I can mimic a spot weld. I'm not even going to worry about this on this car. If this was a final car that I'm doing for like a Q-coat, I would have gone in and replaced the entire floor pan and toe board in this thing and not worried about it. But since this is just a nice driver car, what I'm doing here will probably be more than adequate to the task. All right, that's all I'm doing for this week. This week was all about setting up and templating and making sure you've got what you need in order to make the patch. Now we have the patch made. The hard part begins next week because we will be going in and actually fitting it into the opening that we're going to create, and then all bets are off because it can get pretty sporty once you start doing that kind of stuff. You may say, well, why didn't you just go in and MIG up all the holes in this corner of the floor pan? I'll say why. Why is because it's like Swiss cheese in that corner, and my experience with doing that is if you've got pinholes like that, they don't weld for anything. You have to play so much with the wire feed and everything in order to get those to even seal up. It's really not worth the time and effort. You do just as well to go in and repair and fix it that way. If you have to do pinhole welding, God love you. It's scary stuff. And then the guys that will look at me and say, well, why didn't you go in and do the panel from the guys at Autocrafters? Great plan, and it's a good plan for that, but I didn't want to do that because I already had what I thought at the time was a decent panel to pull from the 4-door and put into the 2-door. It is still a decent panel. It's still something we're going to be able to use. It's just not what I had hoped it was. It's a little more tatty than I had hoped. But we did effect a repair. We've pulled the templates off of it, so everything's good to go. Speaking of everything being good to go, why don't you go check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. It is a ball. We don't have a ton of people showing up for these things, so if you come in, you're more than likely going to get the ability to answer, get your tech questions answered. And what I'm asking you now is, have I done something for you in the past with some of our videos that has saved you some money on your classic car? If it's worth that, look at it as a subscription to the channel, because you're basically not helping me, you're helping Andrew, you're helping me pay Andrew, and you're also helping me to pay the kids on Saturday, which it's kind of funny to me that I'm paying people to come in here and learn. I think that should be the other way around. Bad businessing on my part. Oh, well, anyway, the guys that have been coming along here by me, these are my dudes. These are the guys that actually put their money where their mouth is. They are supporting us on a monthly level. If you're up at the Super Nitro level up there with Pat, you're really throwing some serious money at us, and I appreciate you guys who are on this list, who are putting their money where their mouth is. As soon as you come in at the $10 a month level, you get your name on that list, and you'll see your name go up in lights. It'll be part of your 15 minutes of fame. Also, here we go with the subscription thing. Subscribe to the channel. We're at 96,000-ish. We're not quite on 96,000, but we're real close. So please subscribe to the channel. If you know big channels that could help us out, help us get over that hump, please contact them and say, hey, these dudes really need your help to get over the hump and over 100,000, and I will shut up about subscriptions. It'll just be the little button down here at the bottom that says subscribe. That's all it's going to be. I'm not going to talk anymore because there's no way I'm going to live long enough to get 200,000 if 12 years has taken me 12 years to get to 100,000. So I'm not going to worry about it at that point. I'll be happy with my 100, and I'll sit in my chair and enjoy it. I'll look at the little plaque on the wall, on Paul's wall. Folks, do me a favor, be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week. We'll see you on down the road. So I'm going to take flack for the video being a short video about making a piece. But I'm also going to take flack because if I make it one video and I put it on there about the templating, then guys will watch it for that, and then they'll want to know why we didn't go ahead and do the whole video where we welded everything up. Because it would have been a 40-minute video. YouTube doesn't like long format videos anymore. They think they suck unless you're over an hour. I am not, repeat, not doing an hour-long video on doing this kind of stuff. It's just not conducive to my personal health. That was really weird. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go out the Mr. Rogers door.